So continuing with 6.3, we're adding and subtracting polynomials. This is now on multiplying now, so now we're on multiplying polynomials. When we're doing this, it's a little more difficult to see this way, so what I tend to do is I like to write them from the side. Multiplying polynomials is what you've done in Chapter 5. It's foiling. That's literally all that this is. All that we're literally doing is foiling here. So you're going to take this negative x squared and multiply it by this x. That's all you're really doing. And whenever you multiply like this, it's just adding the exponents. And remember, you multiply whatever's out in front. This is a negative 1 and a 1. So negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. X squared and an x, well, 2 and 1 is 3. So it's negative x cubed is what we end up with there. Then it's negative x squared times that negative 3. Well, negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. And there is no other x's, so that x squared comes along for the ride. Move on over here to the 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared, because 2 times 1 is 2. X times x is x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. The x comes along for the ride. Move on to the 4. 4 times x is positive 4x. 4 times negative 3 is a negative 12. Now the hard part here is combining all my like terms. There is no other x's cubed, so I can just drop that down and get negative x cubed. I have 3x squared and 2x squared, so I have 5x's squared. I have negative 6x and positive 4x, so I have negative 2x, and I have negative 12. So taking a look here now again at example 4. It's the reason why I'm giving you this problem is it doesn't matter whether the bigger thing is out in front, whether the bigger polynomial is out in front, or the smaller one, you still FOIL the same way and it still gives you the same answer. That's the point here. So x times 3x squared is 3x cubed, because 3 times 1 is 3. X times x squared is x cubed. X times negative 2x, well, 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4, 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, and the x comes along for the ride. Move on to the negative 3. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9, and the x squared comes along for the ride. Negative 3 times negative 2x, negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6, and the x comes along for the ride, and negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. So once again, I combine my like terms. There's no other x's cubed, so it's 3x cubed. I have negative 2x squared and negative 9x squared, so that's negative 11x's squared. And I have negative 4x's and 6x's, so it's positive 2x's with a positive 12 at the end. So there is your answer. Example 5. This is just foiling, but you're just foiling twice. That's really all that this is. So it is just foiling, and that is all that we're doing here, but we're just foiling more times is all. So when we're doing this, I'm going to start by foiling these last two. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is positive 3x. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. So I combine my like terms. That's 3 and 4 is 7x. So these two together turn into x squared plus 7x plus 12, basically is what I'm saying. This I have to drop back down because now this looks like just the other problem we just did. It's the same thing, same type of problem. All right, so when you have 3 or 4 or 8, you just got to take your time and you got to FOIL and distribute everything is all you need to do. So now I'm on to this, so it's x times x squared, which is x cubed. X times 7x is 7x squared. X times 12 is positive 12x. Negative 1 times x squared is negative 1x squared. Negative 1 times 7x is negative 7x. Negative 1 times 12 is negative 12. So when I combine my like terms, there is no other x's cubed. And I apologize here for 1 second. So we have the x cubed. 7x squared minus x squared is 6x squared when I combine them. 12x minus 7x is positive 5x, and I just have one number, so it's minus 12. Now there are some ways that you can FOIL these simpler and easier is basically what we're getting at here. There are some ways you can do this. And the ways to do this, the first one is a sum and difference. Now this one I recommend remembering. And the reason why I recommend remembering this one is because it can save you some time. Basically what we're saying is if you have the same thing that's identical, except one's addition and one's subtraction, basically you can take the first item and square it, you can take the second item and square it, and put a subtraction sign in between. So the example I have here is x plus 3 and x minus 3. Since they're identical except one's addition and one's subtraction, you take the x and square it, so you get x squared. You take the 3 and square it, so you get 9. You just put a subtraction sign in the middle of them. So x squared, 3 squared is 9, so it's x squared minus 9 as your answer. That's all it is. Square of a binomial, a plus b squared, is basically saying that you can do this formula here. Now keep in mind you could just FOIL this. So this one, if you remember it, that's great, but if you don't, it's no big deal, because either way, if you just FOIL this, you could still get the same answer. But what this is saying is, take the first item and square it, you take the last item and square it, and you take the two items in the middle and you multiply them by 2. So what we do here is I take the first item, which is x, I take it x squared. Take the last item, which is 4, I put that at the end and I square it. I take these two items and I multiply them together, and then I multiply it by 2 to get my answer. So x squared, that gives me an 8x, and 4 squared is 16. Well, guess what? This is the same with subtraction, except the only thing that's different is you square the first thing, good. Square the last thing, good. You multiply those two items together, and you multiply it by a negative 2 instead of a positive 2. So I'm squaring the first term, so it's x squared. I square the last term, so it's 25. I multiply those together, so it's 5x, and then I multiply it by a negative 2, so it's negative 10x in the center. And there is your answer. Cube of a binomial is basically saying a plus b cubed. And here's what you would do to write that out. There's really no simple way to remember this. I would just FOIL it. Notice though how the a's kind of decrease. It's a cubed, a squared, a, then there is no a. And then the b's are backwards. There's no b, then there's b1, b2, b3, and the middle is a 3 and a 3. So if I was doing x plus 2 cubed, I put the x in here, 3, and then the x squared. The b was 2. This is a 3 still. The a was an x. The b was a 2 squared. And the b is 2, so I cube it. So basically 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is, 2 squared times 3 is 12. 2 cubed is 8. And it's the same with subtraction. Notice the difference. We have a minus sign here and a minus sign here. So x minus 3 cubed, put in the x because that's a. Put in the x there for a. The b is 3. X was a. The b is 3, and the b is 3, so that's cubed. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 3 is 27, and 3 cubed is 27. So basically all there is plugging into the formula. Don't really recommend using this formula too much. Depending on the problem, it might just be as simple to FOIL. So when we come back here, we'll finish up with 6.3 using some of those formulas that we just talked about.